You're watching WDEF News 12 this morning with Rachel Esch, meteorologist Brian Smith, and your time-saver traffic tracker with Sunny 92.3's James Howard.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us here at WDEF News 12 this morning. There's a new book that's out about the life of Auburn football star Bobby Hoppe. And joining us this morning to tell us all about it is, of course, his wife, Dr. Sherry Lee Hoppe, joining us today. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are the author of this book. A lot of people know your husband from his days in Chattanooga and then, of course, at Auburn. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, I learned about Bobby's football career long after we were married. He was not the type of person who talked about it. In fact, I came in one night and I said, I just heard over the loudspeaker at a football game that you were All-American at Central. And he said, oh, Sherry, I'm just a has-been. I mean, there were all kinds of stories that I heard because he never talked about his football career. He was just the kind of person who enjoyed playing football, loved it, but he didn't brag about it.
Well, then a significant thing happened in his life that you found out in pieces over the course of your marriage.
Yes. Before we were married, in fact, the night Bobby asked me to marry him in 1971, he told me he needed to tell me something about his past, that it was not fair to me to ask me to marry him and not know about it. So he told me the story of a man by the name of Don Hudson who had been killed, and a well-known whiskey runner who had dated Bobby's sister, had physically abused her. And after the killing, there was a coroner's inquest, no finding except Chicago-style gangsterism was how it was termed in the newspaper, probably caused the killing. And then in 1966, there was a grand jury hearing about the case, and no true bill came forth. So Bobby looked me in the eye and he said, Sherry, I want you to know I have never murdered anyone. And so we got married and rocked along for a number of years. And then in December of 1987, we had met for our usual evening walk, and we hadn't gone very far when he took me by the hand and looked me in the eye and said, Sherry, I killed Don Hudson. Well, I mean, my mind was going at warp speed. I mean, how do you process, I've never murdered anyone and I killed Don Hudson? After 3 hours of walking, I understood totally. When I knew exactly how the incident had occurred, that Don Hudson had tried to kill him and he killed Hudson in self-defense, it was easy to understand. My husband killed a man in self-defense, but he had never murdered anyone.
And he had kept this a secret from everyone, really.
In fact, it was, at that time, the only time in the history of the United States that anyone had been tried for first-degree murder 31 years after an incident occurred.
Wow.
And all of that time, he had held that inside and had a tortured black conscience. He could not forgive himself for having taken someone else's life.
And that's where this book is centering, on that whole story of what happened to him from your perspective of holding this in all those years.
Yes, the book is called A Matter of Conscience for a reason. Bobby was troubled by his conscience, but there are all sorts of plays on conscience within the book. There was a Baptist minister to whom Bobby did confess, and he is the only person other than an attorney with whom Bobby spoke back in 1957. But that minister said, as he was shaving every day, he kept seeing this man with his face blown off, and he kept seeing a mother crying warm eyes and every morning as he shaved, and so his conscience bothered him. Well, it was, in my opinion, kind of a convoluted twist on conscience. There was a witness who came forward who had nothing to do with anything but was reading what had been reported in the paper, called one of Bobby's attorneys at 6:30 one morning. She was a little meek International House of Pancakes waitress, and she said, I don't want to get involved, but I can't be silent. What I'm hearing in the news is not what I know. I was there. I heard Hudson threaten to kill Bobby Hoppe that night. And I mean, it was hard for her to come forward.
Sure.
And then there was a witness who came forward to testify who had actually run whiskey with Don Hudson a couple of times, and his family didn't know that. And he was a prominent banker in another city, and yet he said, I need to come and tell the world the kind of person Hudson. So over and over again, a prosecutor who put on witnesses that they knew were lying. So there were conscience runs throughout the book. And what I wanted people to do was to see the whole story.
Sure. And the ending?
The ending has a little bit of an Alfred Hitchcock twist. You think when you sit through the trial or you read about the trial, you know everything there is to know. And,
sure.
And the book is based on trial transcripts. It is not just my biased view of what happened. It is based on trial transcripts. But at the end, I was even surprised by what the ending of the book ended up being, because it wasn't something I planned. It was something I discovered or rediscovered as I began to write the book. So a little bit of an Alfred Hitchcock twist there.
It's going to be a great book, and of course it's out now. Where can we get it?
You can get it locally at Rock Point Books and BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, and a number of other local bookstores. I think we'll pick it up in the next few days.
We're so thankful that you were with us today. It's called A Matter of Conscience, and we have a copy we're giving away, and that's going to be the 12th caller right now at 756-1212, a signed, autographed copy to the 12th caller at 756-1212, and of course we're going to have the winner for you when we come back. Again, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll take a short break and be back. This is WDEF News 12 This Morning.